3. Biology.
Have you ever wondered how we know which plants are good to eat and which ones are poisonous? Well, it was simply a very long and drawn-out process of trial and error. Throughout history, people ate what they could find, kill, or otherwise get a hold of. When there was a lack of a traditional food source, people had to try new things. Over time, they started to figure out which plants made them sick and which didn't. Now, I am not just talking about ancient times before farming became established. This trial and error with plants was going on well into the 18th and 19th centuries. In fact, historical records indicate that in the 1800s, plant poisoning had become a serious issue. Since food wasn't as readily available then as it is today, people were forced to take more chances with what they ate. Rather than drop by the market at the end of the street, people would have to wander out into the fields or forests and find whatever looked edible. Today, because the food supply is rather ample and stable, we rarely have to go find our lunch or dinner out in the woods. Nonetheless, we still need to be careful. Poisonous plants can be found all around us, in our homes as decoration, in our lawns, and in the general landscape. Of course, we don't generally go around putting random plants in our mouths. However, children do. Have any of you ever caught your baby brother or sister chewing on one of the plants in your house? Or maybe you were caught chewing on one. Considering the fact that a baby's body is smaller and less hardy than ours, we have to look out for them. A small amount of poison that might go unnoticed in an adult can cause more serious harm to a child. So, poisonous plants are dangerous to kids, but there are measures that can be taken to ensure safety. You can identify the plants in your surroundings by giving a call to your local garden center. You can describe the plant to them, and hopefully they can tell you whether or not it has poisonous properties. Alternatively, you can take the plant down to show them. Also, if you buy a new plant, it is wise to ask whether or not it is poisonous. Now, there are three main categories of toxicity in plants: extremely toxic, moderately toxic, and minimally toxic. These names, however, are very misleading. You see, the severity of the poison depends on a host of other factors, like the particular plant and the metabolism of the person. The term poisoning itself is actually also misleading. Poisoning doesn't only mean a person dies from the poison. Poisoning can result in anything from indigestion and skin irritation to lethal brain damage or death. Let's talk about a few categories of poisonous plants now. One category is the alkaloids. These are bitter-tasting plants with nitrogen compounds in them. A good example is hemlock. I mention it as an example because hemlock is famous. History buffs in the class may recall that it was the poison extracted from this plant that Socrates was forced to drink as his death sentence for corrupting the youth of Athens. That's just an interesting side note. Anyway, the effects of hemlock are similar to nicotine, but obviously much more severe, as it can cause the nervous system to shut down, resulting in death. Plants with minerals in them form another category of poisonous plants. These plants build up a large amount of some mineral that is toxic in humans, such as lead or copper. The effects of eating these plants can include psychological malfunctioning and, in higher doses, death. Plants containing oxalates are the third category. Oxalates, spelled O-X-A-L-A-T-E-S, occur as small crystals in the plant and irritate the mouth. Not quite as serious as the other two, but poison nonetheless. Once again, those three categories of poisonous plants are the alkaloids, plants with minerals, and oxalates. So you may be wondering, why did poisonous plants evolve? What purpose does this serve? Well, there are many different sources of poison in different plants, as we just heard, but in most cases, the poison is a byproduct of one of the plant's natural life processes, and the poison serves as a defense mechanism for the plant. Animals learn which plants to stay away from because they get sick when they eat them. So it follows that the plant will survive and reproduce because no one is eating it.
Number 1. What does the professor imply about people who searched for wild plants to eat in the 1800s? Number 2. How does the professor feel about keeping plants inside the house? Number 3. Which is true about hemlock? Number 4. Listen again to part of the lecture. Then answer the question.
Oxalates, spelled Oxalates, occur as small crystals in the plant and irritate the mouth. Not quite as serious as the other two, but poison nonetheless.
What does the professor imply about oxalates?